Let's be honest for a second. When you hear the word philosophy, what pops into your head? Probably dusty old books, right? Maybe some really abstract, impossible to answer questions. It can feel, well, a little irrelevant in our super fast paced, tech driven world. And look, I get it. But today, we're going to explore why that ancient practice of thinking isn't just relevant. It's actually one of the most powerful tools you can have to navigate the modern world.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by tackling that skepticism head on. Is philosophy an obsolete art? Then we'll see how it's kind of like the ultimate gym for your brain, building skills that'll give you a serious edge at work. From there, we'll look at how it can be an anchor in our chaotic lives and even help us face down some of today's biggest challenges, like fake news and AI. And finally, we'll reframe philosophy, not as some stuffy subject, but as a way of life. All right, let's just get right to the heart of it. In an age that's completely defined by science and amazing new tech, what on earth is the point of philosophy? It's the big elephant in the room anytime the topic comes up, so let's just deal with it right now. And asking this question isn't some kind of attack. It's a totally fair challenge. I mean, we are surrounded by progress that we can literally see and touch. And it's all thanks to science and engineering. So where does sitting around thinking about the nature of reality even fit in? Does it actually do anything for us? Of course we lean on science, and for good reason. It's given us medicine, computers, space travel, incredible stuff. But science has its limits. You can't run an experiment in a lab that proves that we should be good to each other or that we ought to value happiness. Science is amazing at describing what is, but it can't tell us what ought to be. And that's exactly where philosophy picks up. And that brings us to what philosophy really is. It's not a big collection of facts that you have to memorize. It's a method, a process. The best way to think about it is as the ultimate mental gym, a place you go to train your brain to get stronger, more flexible, and way more precise. At its core, philosophical thinking is a universal skill. It's about learning how to approach a problem from all these different angles. It's not about what to think, it's about how to think, systematically, with real rigor, and with the ability to build an argument that is absolutely rock solid. And that's not just some academic exercise. That is a fundamental life skill. So what kind of tools do you actually get in this mental gym? Well, this philosophical toolkit is incredibly practical. It's the ability to just cut through all the noise and complexity on a tough issue. It's about building a case, filtering out what's irrelevant, and spotting the real underlying problem. It's about finding the weak spots in an argument, and, maybe most importantly, identifying the questions that we haven't even realized we need to ask yet. And here's the kicker. These aren't just abstract abilities for some late-night debate. This entire toolkit translates directly into a real, tangible, professional edge. It gives you the skills that are so desperately needed for any kind of leadership role today. Now, you'd probably think that in our tech-heavy economy, the absolute safest degrees would be in science and engineering, right? Well, let's take a look at the data. A recent analysis from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York paints a picture that might really surprise you. Check out these numbers from 2023. Computer engineering grads had a 7.7% unemployment rate. For physics, it was 8.3%. Now, this is not to say these fields aren't valuable. They're absolutely essential. But what it does tell us is that technical knowledge by itself isn't a golden ticket. There's another skill set at play here that makes people truly adaptable and valuable in the long run. And that brings us right back to this powerful statement. That ability for consistent, systematic thought, that's the game changer. It's what lets leaders navigate tricky situations where there's no pre-written code to just spit out the answer. I mean, think of someone like Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn. He has a master's in philosophy, and he says it was crucial for helping him figure out how to build complex human networks. It's the skill of thinking, not just knowing. Okay, so this mental toolkit is great for your career, but it goes so much deeper than that. Beyond professional success, philosophy offers something that might be even more valuable. Practical tools for finding some stability and calm in a world that, let's face it, often feels completely chaotic. There's been this huge resurgence of interest in ancient Stoicism lately, and it kind of makes sense. Our world today can feel a lot like the ancient world did, totally unpredictable and way out of our control. So when the world outside feels like it's spinning, we naturally start looking for an inner source of strength, some kind of tranquility. And this is where the Stoics give us this absolute gem, captured perfectly by Seneca. He said the source of our anxiety or our anger or our frustration, it's not the event itself. It's not the traffic jam or the critical comment or the unexpected bill. It's the judgment we attach to it. This one simple idea is revolutionary because it pulls the power away from the external world and puts it right back in our own minds. And get this ancient insight is the direct foundation for one of the most effective forms of modern therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. This is its core principle, right here. It's this simple process. Recognize that our beliefs shape our emotions, and that by stopping to examine and challenge those beliefs, we can fundamentally change how we feel. This isn't just a theory, it's a practical, therapeutic tool born directly out of philosophy. So, philosophy helps our careers and our inner lives. Awesome. But its relevance doesn't stop with us as individuals. Let's zoom out to the bigger picture. Because philosophy is absolutely essential for dealing with the massive, complex challenges that we're all facing as a society. I love this distinction. It's so simple, but so powerful. Science is a phenomenal tool that helps us live longer. But philosophy is the tool we use to figure out how to live better. What does a good and just society actually look like? And how can we all live well together?
And this has never been more urgent than it is right now. Just think about the biggest challenges of our time. Fake news isn't just a technical problem with algorithms. It's a philosophical problem about truth, knowledge, and trust. The rise of AI isn't just a coding challenge. It is a profoundly philosophical one.
Let's see how that philosophical toolkit works against misinformation. Logic helps you spot flawed arguments and manipulative language. Epistemology, which is just a fancy word for the study of knowledge, forces you to ask the most important question of all. How do I actually know this is true? And ethics helps us grasp the real moral damage that misinformation inflicts on all of us. And the same thing goes for AI. As we build these incredibly powerful new systems, we're being forced to confront some of the oldest philosophical questions out there. What does it even mean to be intelligent, to be conscious? If we create something that can think, what are our moral duties to it? And what guardrails do we need to build to make sure it acts ethically towards us? These are not questions for programmers alone. These are questions for philosophers. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important idea. We really need to stop thinking about philosophy as just another academic subject you study in a classroom. We need to start seeing it for what the ancients always meant for it to be: a practical guide, a constant companion, an art of living. See, the goal here isn't to arrive at some final, perfect answer and then just stop thinking. No way. It's a continuous practice. It's the daily habit of questioning your own assumptions, reflecting on your values, thinking critically about the world around you, and just trying to live a more examined, more intentional life. It's a journey, not a destination. So in the end, philosophy isn't something dead and gone, locked away in some ancient book. It is a living, breathing toolkit for your mind, for your career, for your well-being, and for our society. It's an incredibly powerful instrument for shaping a better life and a better world. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it?